delineated. Interior limb bud first appears. Then 5 knob-like structures resembling the human fingers take form. This development proceeds rapidly, and during the first 12 weeks, the beginnings of the forearm and fingernails become evident. The configurations then rapidly change, and long before birth, the hand becomes well-defined and even active. Growth continues, but 8 weeks after birth, the hand still retains some of its prenatal characteristics. The infant cannot yet lay hold of the physical world. His hand is almost a useless organ. It remains for the most part fisted, night and day. Consequently, the movements of the fingers are limited and non-adaptive. But at 24 weeks, the fingers are open. The fist has unfolded. The fingers play in a lively manner and curl over every object they touch. Slender objects like a spoon easily become entangled between the fingers. But the patterns of prehension and manipulation have clearly elaborated. Note the infant's reaction to the cube. He grasps it when it is within his reach. He is now well beyond the stage of mere corralling. Now observe the patterns of behavior in the 2-cube situation at 24 weeks. The examiner has placed 1 cube in the infant's left hand and has presented a 2nd cube. The infant holds the first cube but gives only momentary and secondary regard to the 2nd cube. He transfers, chews, bangs the cube, but he confines his attention chiefly to 1 cube, even in the multiple cube situation. These patterns of behavior persist. He grasps 1 cube and gives only fleeting heed to the several cubes before him. He remains preoccupied with the cube in hand. In 4 more weeks, his behavior patterns are significantly transformed. At 28 weeks, in addition to holding the first cube, he grasps the 2nd one as soon as he sees it, and he holds both cubes. He even brings the 2 cubes together sketchily. He inspects one, and then the other, and then both together. His attention as well as his grasp takes in 2 cubes. By double or coincident projection, the 2 age levels are now brought into comparative view. The pictures have been slowed to half speed, so you can divide your attention equally between them. You may make your own comparisons and draw your own deductions. The difference in complexity of these 2 sets of behavior patterns represents 1 month of mental growth. It is quite evident that time visibly transforms the patterns of prehension and manipulation. Here are depicted 6 consecutive pattern phases of cube behavior at 24 weeks. Reading from left to right, you see grasp, transfer, inspection of the first cube, inspection of the 2nd cube, banging, and mouthing. Turning now to 28 weeks, we see these pattern phases. Regard for the 2nd cube, prompt approach, grasp, inspection of the first cube, then inspection of the 2nd cube, and rubbing of the 2 cubes. These reactions occur in pattern sequence in less than 30 seconds. The patterns of prehension change visibly every month. This comparative view depicts the infant's manual patterns at 28 and at 40 weeks. At 40 weeks, he sits independently. He no longer needs the examining chair. He brings two cubes into constructive relationship. Let us examine more closely his patterns of behavior at 40 weeks. Index finger and thumb are coming into definite opposition. And when a third cube is presented, he manages even to hold 3 cubes at one time. The index finger now takes a leading part in manipulation. Take particular notice of this index finger. He at once pokes the tip of the handle of the bell with his extended finger. He rotates the bell, rings it, presses it forward, holds it at different angles. He is under an irrepressible impulse to pry and to poke with his index finger. This is a significant, well-defined pattern of behavior, a very deep-seated pattern, which asserts itself again when a tiny pellet is presented. Once more, the index finger projects. He plucks the pellet and pursues it with the poking index finger. And when pellet and bottle are presented, again the poking index finger comes into prominent play. And now for a rapid survey of the progressive growth changes which transform the patterns of cube behavior from 12 weeks to 40 weeks. At 12 weeks, simple regard for a cube. At 16 weeks, incipient approach. At 20 weeks, corralling and contact. At 24 and 28 weeks, direct approach and grasp. At 40 weeks, exploitive combining of the two cubes. These growth changes continue with each passing month. In conclusion, recall the curled and ineffective hand of early infancy. Compare with the manual dexterity of 3 years and the constructiveness of 5 years. Throughout childhood, time transforms the patterns of manipulation.